Hello everyone, I'm Akshra Menon from PMS Bazaar. I'm thrilled to welcome you to the fourth episode of the Alternate Universe Season 2. Today we'll delve into the intriguing topic wealth creation insights from length and breadth of India. In this session, you can expect to explore how global high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals and family offices differ from their Indian counterparts. We will highlight the most favored and upcoming sources of alpha and will discuss how wealth management practices vary geographically and more. To guide us through this insightful journey, we have the esteemed speaker, Mr. Neeraj Choksi, co-founder and joint managing director, NG Group. Since co-founding the NG Group in 1994, Mr. Neeraj has been the driving force in the financial landscape. A graduate in business management from Sardar Patel University, he is a certified financial planner and certified trust ST planner. He launched India Invest Pvt Ltd, which has grown into one of India's largest distributors of financial products, boasting over 185 locations, including offices in Mauritius and Dubai. With NJ Wealth leading the change, the group has over 42,000 active distributors and manages assets exceeding 2 lakh crore rupees. Mr. Neeraj has contributed to SEBI's Mutual Fund Advisory Committee and currently participates in CDSL Business Advisory Committee and BSE Capital Market Committee. He is also trustee of NJ Charitable Trust, focusing on education for underprivileged children, and has been a Rotractor since 1996. Notably, he was honored with the Outstanding Young Businessman Award for the zonal level in the year 2008. A warm welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now let's move on to the moderators of the day. First, we have Mr. Vikaas Sachdeva. With over 30 years of experience in asset under advisory, Vikaas is the managing director of Sundaram Alternates. He drives growth across various platforms, geographies, and asset classes. Throughout his career, he has held senior management roles in prestigious financial organizations. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to the next, Mr. Arjun G. Nagaraj. As the Chief Economist and Communications Manager for the investments at Sundaram Asset Management Company, Arjun brings over 15 years of expertise in research and economics. He excels in tracking and forecasting macroeconomics variables affecting both domestic and global markets. Welcome to the show, sir. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the podium to Mr. Vikaas Sachdeva.
Thank you, Akshara. While I was listening to you talk about Neeraj Bhai, it just took me back memory lane. And maybe Neeraj Bhai, I would like to share something. But before I go ahead, I should inform you that on the Alternates universe, we've received close to 800 registrations. This is the highest ever this show has received. Okay, so that actually underscores, whether you like it or not, the rock star status that you have in this country. So welcome to the show, Neeraj Bhai.
Nothing like that because I think the
No, Neeraj Bhai,
times are such that you get more registrations.
नीरज भाई आपको शायद ये याद नहीं होगा while Akshara was talking it just took me back memory lane. I think it was around 2000 and you and Jignesh bhai both had come to my office in Birla Mutual Fund. So I had just taken over as overall head of sales. I was head of institutional sales and I took over as head of sales, and I was so stressed and so busy with my work. I was in a meeting and nobody told me you had come. You and Jignesh bhai had come. I hate making anybody wait, but apparently somebody made you wait for 45 minutes. Okay. I was very guilty. I came out, I spoke to you, and you did mention about this whole idea of your business. But I must tell you that anybody else in that position would have felt a little slighted that I was made to wait for 45 minutes, but not you and Jignesh bhai. You were very clear. You came to discuss something with me. You were very matter of fact, very objective. You did what you wanted and you went. So I really, really liked about you. I must also share, Neeraj bhai, जब ये आपने, I think it's 2000, right? If I'm not mistaken.
मैं तो उस दिन आपसे इंटरेस्ट रेट रिस्क क्या है वो सीखा था तब. मुझे वो याद है.
Thank you.
क्योंकि वो पहली बार ऐसा हो रहा था कि बॉन्ड फंड्स में एनएवी नीचे जा रही थी.
बॉन्ड फंड में, yes, I remember. I think it was 1998, Jan 1698.
I don't remember the year, but it was 98, 99 something.
Yes. Neeraj bhai, Jan 16, 1998, that was the India-Bangladesh match where Rishikesh Kanetkar actually hit the last ball four. सैटरडे
Correct.
का दिन था 4 बजे आरबीआई का गाइडेंस आया कि इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ा रहे हैं एंड मंडे ऑल द एनएवीज वेंट फॉर अ टॉस
Correct.
बट आई मस्ट टेल यू नीरज भाई जब भी आप आए थे आपने हमारे साथ बात की थी जिग्नेश भाई के साथ में बाय द वे व्यूअर्स एनजे स्टैंड्स फॉर नीरज एंड जिग्नेश ओके द टू co-founders you know when you talk to us about this whole idea of building a business around SIPs quite a few of us were skeptical at that point of time. Not because of the ability to run the business, but about SIP as a concept. I think it was very recent that SIP had a concept had come. And most people, if you remember at that time, wanted to invest lump sum. But you were the ones who actually said, we'll do SIPs, and you had a very clear business plan in mind. I think that was very prescient. And, that meeting has always stayed in my mind. You know, the way you were explaining and what we discussed after you left. And we said, is there a possibility this can become a big business? You know, the house was divided on that. But anyway, lot of water has gone under the bridge. So again, welcome to the show. And I think it's my privilege to actually share a few things about you with some people, with people here. You know, as always, this is a section called Person Behind the Professional. And we've done a fair bit of digging around. We've spoken to your colleagues, we've spoken to your ex-colleagues, we've spoken to, industry people. But I must tell you, it's been extremely difficult to get information about you. And I'll tell you why. I think people talk about simple living and high thinking. You are an epitome of simple living and high thinking. You know, be it your life, be it your lifestyle. I think you live it very, very simply and frugally. You're not fussy about anything. And this is something I can personally vouch for. In fact, while you're quite generous about spending on others, whether it's your colleagues or who might have some issue or your family, you are actually quite frugal when it comes to yourself. In fact, I believe the only luxury you've ever allowed yourself is very recently when you bought a very expensive pair of walking shoes, and that too because of a necessity. You're very passionate about giving back to society, Neeraj Bhai. And I think this charitable trust which Akshara was mentioning, you established a school for underprivileged children. Uh, you're very God-fearing, you're spiritual, you're a Krishna devotee, and you like to listen to bhajans and soothing music. But what I think most people would be very interested to know that your choice of music is not restricted to that. It's reasonably omnivorous. In fact, you quite like consuming music which is happy music, happy Bollywood music to be precise. You're not particularly choosy about it, but anything which makes you feel light and happy. You also like to watch films, but there you are very clear that the films which you like should be either well directed or should have a clear message or a theme. Something like a Three Idiots and off late, one of the movies which you've liked, Chandu Champion. Uh, your wife, Nirali, is associated with your school. Your son, Nirmay, is actually a chip of the old block. He's involved in the AMC unit. He's completed his BSc from University of Warwick and has cleared all 3 levels of CFA. I mean, the internal thing is that he's a whiz at maths and stats, which means he takes after you. You love reading books and hearing podcasts. I try to find out where do you go on holidays, but I think again, the simple man that you are, your idea of holiday is basically an impromptu gathering, a get together of Jignesh by a couple of other friends and their families. And for you, quality time, hanging out with them, even if it is an overseas destination, is far more important than just sightseeing. So this is what we got about you, Neeraj bhai.
Vikas, you have been too generous about your introduction and very kind of you, but I am a very normal human being like all others. I like watching movies, I like music, I like all the normal things. I like eating, going to restaurant, everything. So nothing so special, and I continue to do my work in my best possible manner.
Maybe I should have added your superpower is your humility. So anyway, without any further ado, let's just dive straight into the questions. We've got a lot of questions which have come in from the
Sure.
audiences. Neeraj bhai, I talked to you about the journey which you started off with. Today NJ is seen as a trailblazer that you and Jignesh bhai have created over the years. But when you actually started it off, you know, it was probably just an idea in your mind. I want you to help us understand your journey how this whole idea came about, what was the journey about, what were the issues you faced, the aha moments along the way. I think it will really benefit the viewers.
So frankly, if I have to tell, because at that point of time, we had no clue whatsoever that this will become so big. I think what really was motivating and exciting us, that when we understood about, actually our journey started in 1994, and at that point of time, what had happened, that after the Harshad Mehta's meltdown, and few of the mutual funds had, private sector had just started, and unfortunately they also came at the time where this Harshad Mehta meltdown took place, and Morgan Stanley and Master Gain and those NAVs had fallen down. And so mutual funds was a very bad word at that time for any investor. And if we spoke
Absolutely.
about that, people would say, just get out from here. So that was the time. Frankly, we made a few mutual funds initially, and we thought that no, this is the right way of investing, and people can create wealth only by investing in equity. That is what we were given to understand. But as the time progressed, I think our conviction uh, towards that increased. Initially, we were also struggling, and we did a couple of odd things also along with that, because no one was buying. But gradually, people started putting money, people started with small amounts. And 98, 99, again, there was a tech run, and then there were a lot of this technology funds and several other funds started, and
Yes.
people started putting some money there. I know Birla was one of the early entrants, and we had I know we sold the Birla Advantage Fund NFO in 1995. I used to go on scooter and offer the forms. There was physical forms to be filled, and those were the days. And hardly we were getting a few applications. But then I think we realized that SIP is one of the best way of investing. It always gives a rupee cost averaging, and we thought that if we can help people to go into it, every household, if is an SIP investor, we can really make it big. And so he thought of focusing on that simple thing. Let's go and talk about SIP. We have to explain. And SIP doesn't have a very high risk of market timing, because at any given point of time, if someone starts his SIP and he continues for a few years, I think you don't lose money. And that's where I think the most important thing was. And that's how we started. And after that, in 2003, we thought, okay, if we want to offer this to every household, we will need so many feet on street, and I and Jignesh bhai alone cannot go. Even if we work 24 hours, how many people can we meet to tell about SIP? So that's how we thought of creating a network up, and that's where we created our NJ Wealth platform. And we started talking about long term equity, started talking about SIPs, the power of SIP. And one more thing which we early realized with that was the power of trail. That this is one business where it's not where only transaction oriented. Once you have a AUM, you start getting certain money a trail. There used to be very low trail at that point of time, but we thought, okay, this is something which can take care of all our expenses. दैट इज हाउ वी स्टार्टेड कि हमारा 100 करोड़ का अगर एयूएम हो जाएगा तो खर्चे सारे निकल जाएंगे, एंड देन वी कैन बिल्ड. दोज वर द डेज, एंड आई थिंक God has been very kind, and I can only say it is because of his blessings whatever we have achieved, and all the support of all our employees, our team, and partners, customers, and of course the industry was very very kind with us, like people like you who supported us when we were nothing. I think because of that we've been able to do this.
Jagdish bhai, I think at some stage, uh, we all have to acknowledge luck as a very primary factor. I think
Yeah,
all of us happen to be at the right place at the right time in the right
correct.
country.
Right,
So,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
In fact, one of the questions which people often ask me,
Hmm.
and that's something which has always amazed people. You've based your head office out of Surat even till date, okay, which is extremely unconventional. What was the thought process behind this strategy?
No, see, generally, there was a dilemma at some point of time whether to shift our headquarter to Bombay
Hmm.
or to keep it in Surat. But with the advent of technology, we actually very early started building our technology platform. We started our website in the year 2000. And the platform which we created again was a tech based platform. Now, because of technology, I think if you need good team, good people, infrastructure to create technology for you, think we realize that in South Gujarat there is a huge potential, and for as far as the business is concerned, Surat, Bombay, the distance is hardly 3 4 hours by train. So we can definitely go to Bombay, spend a day there or a two, and again come back and focus on our business. And we can get good people here. The land and the property prices, like at one point of time when I was looking at a yearly rental in Lower Parel, with that money we were able to build our office, I think. So that was the
Oh
kind of
God.
difference.
Oh
So
God.
we thought that doesn't make sense. We can with the
Yeah.
same money create a good environment and infrastructure here. And probably in hindsight we believe that that was the right decision we made.
Correct. So, Arjun, over to you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Lovely, lovely hearing your thoughts. So I'll just dial back a little bit. So I just want to take you slightly back to the flashback. So you made a mention about early 90s about how mutual funds in general were actually seen with suspicion. Now, uh, from a very practical point of view, now today when I go and meet IFAs, when I meet distributors, I give them a pitch saying, all right, 12% CAGR, that's what the markets have given over the last 25 years, 30 years. Now, when you started off in 1994, it was, I think NJ is now one of the largest IFA networks and one of the largest AUMs across the country. So, can you give us if you wear your sales hat and tell us, because in 1990s you really didn't have the statistical advantage of the statistics, and you couldn't really say the markets over such a long period of time have given you the CAGR. Today we are able to do that, but at that point in time, can you sort of share your thought process on what was your sales pitch like? How were you able to sort of convince them that this is the vision for the industry ahead, at such an early point in the cycle when the industry was barely so it was so nascent, people didn't even know what an SIP was. If you can share your thoughts there.
No, I mean, initially, when we were meeting the asset management companies, we were learning from them only about the long term equity. Then we were learning about how mutual funds have been accepted globally as a percentage of GDP. Of course, there were tax benefits and other things as well in those countries. But despite of that, I think there was a huge kind of acceptance globally as far as the mutual funds were concerned. And we were just when we were discussing, in fact, we had done some broking also in the initial years, where we wanted to do some research and offer some stocks to customers. But then we realized very early that this is, and there was a physical market and there were different challenges at that time. So we realized that this is a job of an expert. You need a lot of capital. Even to do research, you need people, you need team. And that's where, if you are able to uh, uh, give money to good managers, I think that is the best way of participating. And we were getting more and more convinced about long term equity with the passage of time. And we had a very simple thought that if equity doesn't work, however, debt is safe. So instead of putting a money in a bank FD, if I buy the shares of that bank, I am sure uh, I will get a better return. But the only thing which was required was patience. Without
Uh,
patience, I think you cannot make money in equity markets. And that's what all the stalwarts were talking. And we were talking the same thing. Okay, bhai, have patience, put in SIP, give time, don't do complicated things. Just wait, I think. And that was the pitch, which is, of course, was not so acceptable easily. Today also people don't accept so easily, but the acceptance levels has gone up quite significantly because of their experience. But yes, that will work if you continue to do the same thing again and again. I think at some point of time, people will accept when they saw one cycle, two cycle, they start believing you, trusting you. And that was the same thing we were talking to our distribution network, the people who we were recruiting. And we told them that go and tell these simple things. And initially, it was not so difficult because there used to be incentivization on SIPs. I mean, AMCs used to reward and upfront commissions and other things were there. Unlike today, the things are different. But because of that, people were able to get some money and broadly they were able to survive. And then I think 2003 to 2008 was a sweet spot. The market went in one direction. 3000s BSE Sensex went up to 20, and that's where I think people got a very good experience, and we it helped us because we were early entrants. So I think that's how things started happening.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that. I'll add one more small question to that.
Sure.
Now you've been in this entire business since the early 1990s. So how have you seen your IFAs, your partners, sort of evolve over the last few decades with you, and how have you sort of pushed them to stay ahead of the curve and see the vision that you actually have been seeing all along? So one is to actually see the vision, and one is to actually communicate to them and tell them that, see, there's so much ahead of you. Don't really be hasty. How do you sort of convince them around that?
So actually, we started our network in 2003. A company was established in 94. Prior to that, it took around 6, 7, 8 years. After that, we were also very convinced about the mutual fund business, and we were very clear that yeah, this is something where we can definitely build a career. Of course, we were not at all had any clue of the numbers which are there as of now, but we were confident, yeah, that we'll be able to grow and survive in this business. So when we started the network, our obvious pitch was that we will spend time with them and help them to build the business. It is not just discount broking. So in fact, when we started our network, we were charging an entry fee. Okay, a person who wanted to join us, he has to pay 1500 rupees, and he has to necessarily pass the examination. Previously, AMFI used to take exam, now it is NISM. So if a person, if he doesn't have a commitment to pass an exam and pay 1500 rupees, then we would not want to spend time with him. So our idea was very simple, that we will help you build your business, and we are not going to compete on brokerage. Okay, bhai, I am going to give you more than my competitor. That's not the pitch. We are saying, okay, bhai, we will help you build AUM, and once your AUM is built, you will certainly be able to earn more. So that was one thing which we were communicating. Second thing, if we today look at the statistics, last 10 years, our team had done some numbers. They looked at the top 1000 IFAs by AUM in the industry, and 1000 IFAs of NJ. Now NJ, all the AUM will get registered in the name of NJ only, but we have that internal data of our top 1000 people, and we were able to see that those 1000 people had of the industry grew at around 14.5%, while our 1000 IFAs grew at 29%.
Wow.
So that was basically the difference. And another thing was very focus. We never went into any complicated products or structured products, or long short and all the alternative universe. We wanted to keep it very simple, that tell people, s- stay invested, have patience, put give money to good people, and I'm sure you will make money over long periods of time, and it will give you real returns. That's where wealth gets created.
Lovely, lovely. You're actually giving us a lot of answers to our future questions with just that smile of yours. I think,
Yeah,
Vikas, I think he had a lovely set of questions on moats. I think, Vikas, please go ahead.
correct. So, with Neeraj Bhai, you always keep smiling because he has these amazing one-liners which come in. Neeraj bhai, you started by just talking to Arjun and you said what was your focus and what was your USP in a way when you started the business. But today, I think it's a business model which is being replicated by quite a few people, and almost all of them are also being successful. Now, with such stiff competition coming in, what is the business mode for NJ? What is the sort of shield which NJ has around it? It could be something subjective, it could be something objective. Just like to understand that a bit more.
No, see, I think uh, the business of investments is linked with emotions. So that is the first thing. So the IFA, who is a last mile connect, I think his role is going to continue to remain, because technology cannot disrupt that. I have heard about AI, which has some idea related to handling emotions also, but still I am not very convinced about that. uh, what I believe is that people when make mistakes because of emotions, not because of knowledge. Everyone knows that market goes up and down, but then their behavior is always opposite. The perception of risk and reality is always different in their mind. So that's where our people make a difference. It's not about predicting the market or giving them the best performing fund, but it is ensuring that they don't stop their SIP at the wrong time, they don't invest at the wrong time, or don't get out at the wrong time. So that's where the major money is made. And I believe that this will continue to remain, because it is all linked to emotions. And when financial losses are like processed, where your mortal dangers are processed in that part of brain, that is where financial losses are processed. And that's where a person, an intermediary, is required to ensure that, oh, don't worry, I'm there with you, and you just continue and things will be good. So I think that role is continuing to remain. Now our customers are essentially these IFAs,
Hmm.
and when we give them a platform, a 360-degree platform, where they don't have to worry about technology, regulations, marketing, research, everything is done at our end. They just have to go and meet clients and give them the comfort and get business. And even the transaction processing of their clients, everything is online. Previously we know that we had to fill up
Offline,
forms,
yeah.
the 4 AMCs, 4 forms, 4 SIP mandates. Now
Correct.
all those things are, those days have gone back. So I believe that that is there, and IFA platforms will definitely get good business. And Like worldwide IFA platforms are there, they have been successful, and it will continue to be successful. Still I think we don't have a very very relevant, I feel that less than 100,000 people are very serious or focused in this business. So it is very important to recruit new people, and our core focus is that we haven't approached the existing IFAs. We
Hmm.
have a team which is doing recruitment. We are giving a business opportunity. So every year, in last 4 5 years, we are recruiting more than 5,000 new people. They are the new ARN holders,
Wow.
and some of them go away also out of business. But then from there we get the loyalty. If we've taught them, we give them induction, we have proper process, a set of that. And I continue to believe that if we will do this thing, and as an early mover, we always have an advantage to come out with more and more innovations. But we always try to keep things simple. We don't want to sell products which we are not so comfortable with. We don't want to get into any terrain where it can have some risk on our reputation, that for this purpose, while they may offer those type of products through other platforms or directly, but then we are very clear what we want to offer to our customers. And ultimately, say today we are on the stock exchange platform, we have more than 3 million customers. I can very easily start offering them F&O, but we
Hmm.
don't do that,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
we know what happens there. So we don't want our customers to lose money. We want that by they stay with us, they have a happy experience. And I think if we are able to offer that, then we will definitely continue to remain in the business.
It's a very interesting thing. I think you mentioned something about managing emotions. and I'm a very big admirer of Gurukul, which you have established. I must tell viewers that again, very unusual thing. Way before investor education actually started coming into vogue, this was basically education created for the customer through the IFA. And I remember I remember having seen that particular go down once, which had so much of literature for the IFA. And by the way, again, the IFA had to pay for it, so nothing came free. And it was not the question of paying, it was a question of seriousness. That if you're really serious about doing what you're doing, you should not mind paying a little bit here. So I think fabulous. Managing relationships, managing emotions is a business mode. If I can just flip to the other side now, Neeraj bhai, you have studied investor behavior. You were talking about the IFA analytics which you just did. I'm sure you would have studied a lot about investor behavior as well. One of the key questions which keeps coming to us is, especially from investors, what should you look when you select a wealth manager? Okay. And the second part of this question is, do investors across different income strata have different expectations from wealth managers? Like if, for example, I am a HNI, or I'm an ultra HNI, or I'm an MNI, will there be different expectations in terms of wealth managers? So two questions. What do investors look when they select a wealth manager? And second question is, what are their expectations?
So yeah, there are, I think, two extreme. One is the retail and the mass affluent, and then you have the ultra high net worth. Their expectation are very different. But if you look at a country like India, there is a plethora of this retail and mass affluent. If you look at the tax numbers, only 2.16 lakh people have demonstrated an income of over 1 crore.
Hmm.
So you can just imagine the so much of now the middle class is growing, and that is where they need a lot of hand holding. And unfortunately, these days, because of technology, all the youngsters are, for wrong reasons, getting into wrong products because they have high aspirations. They don't understand F&O, they don't understand uh, cryptocurrency. But because of social media, because of other things, they get hooked onto that. And I believe that that's a big opportunity where you will have to explain them that this is not the right way. You need patience for becoming a successful investor. So I think that is one complete different mass where their aspiration level are very different. The older guys who have been so conservative, traditional, there, for them the security is the most important thing. कि भाई मेरा पैसा टूटना नहीं चाहिए, भाई कैसे करूंगा, ये तो मार्केट तो ऊपर नीचे हो जाता है, हम तो ट्रेडिशनली लैंड में लगाते थे ये वो. सो दैट इज अ completely different mass. And high net worth में there again expectation, it will again depend from person to person. उसमें
Correct.
दो तरह के लोग हैं. एक जो है कि पैसा लेके भी बैठे और फ्री है, दैट इज द मोस्ट डेंजरस लॉट. और एक जो है कि वो फोकस्ड है, वो 10 मिनट में आपकी बात समझ जाएगा, वो एसेट एलोकेशन समझेगा, वो फैंसी नहीं करेगा. बट जो फ्री भी है और पैसा भी है, तो वो हैंडल करना बहुत डिफिकल्ट है. उसका ईगो आपको सेटिस्फाई करना पड़ता है. दैट इज द क्वालिटी दे लुक इन अ वेल्थ मैनेजर, के जो उसकी बात बैठ के सुने, भले वो गलत बोल रहा है तो भी सुने, वाह वाह करे. उनको वैसे वेल्थ मैनेजर चाहिए. जो स्मार्ट है, बिजी है,
Hmm.
दे विल अंडरस्टैंड कि ये आदमी क्या बता रहा है, कि वेदर ही इज टॉकिंग इन माय इंटरेस्ट और सो. So then for them, you to give them a good service, timely service. Don't disturb them too much. Whenever they want, it should happen. Logical thing should happen. वो चीज वो शायद देखते हैं. और बाकी तो मास एफ्लुएंट के पास तो आज लोग पहुंचे ही नहीं है. उनके पास तो पहुंचना पड़ेगा हमें. आज सेबी एंड एमफी इज also coming out with this certain scheme in that bus, the Nivesh Yojana for the
Hmm.
entire Bharat Nivesh Yojana, and they are coming out with those things.
Hmm.
I think वो ज्यादा से ज्यादा होना चाहिए कि भाई people talk about that. While lot of things are happening, mutual fund सही है, ad भी चल रहा है, lot of things are happening, but still there is a one-on-one kind of an engagement which is very very important for people to get converted. Because abhi bhi people don't understand the difference between a mutual fund and an SIP. कई बार के टीवी के एंकर मुझे ईटीएफ की बात करते हैं, मेरे को लगता है अभी आप म्यूचुअल फंड और एसआईपी में, अब उसको हम ईटीएफ, मतलब बहुत बड़ा गैप है अंडरस्टैंडिंग में अनफॉर्चुनेटली, एंड वी ट्राई टू कम आउट विद सो मच कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोडक्ट्स जहां पे वो जरूरत नहीं है। वो एक अलग निश है, एक अलग मास है। यस, यू कैन address those mass and it may be sensible for them, but बाकी का जो बहुत बड़ा आज मास है, आप देखिए 20 करोड़ लोग ड्रीम 11 पे और 4.5 करोड़ लोग म्यूचुअल फंड में है, तो अब ये बहुत बड़ा गैप मुझे लग रहा है कि वो एड्रेस करने की जरूरत है।
It's a very profound answer. In fact, all the youngsters who are looking at this and viewing this, maybe once this goes live on YouTube again, you should listen to the last 3 minutes again. Because in 3 minutes, Neeraj Bhai has talked about everything right from behavioral finance to behavioral traits. I think this is a very profound section of the entire interview, which people will do well to look at and understand. Very well articulated, sir. Arjun?
Thank you.
Lovely answer and well said, because the last 3 minutes was really wonderful. I'll bring in another small question. You touched upon this. Now, what I understand from the first few minutes when you started, you said patience is very important. Another thing that I understand from your narrative appears to be very clear that you don't want to give somebody the fish. You want to teach, you want to sort of push them and learn to fish in a certain sense. So that I think really stands out for me. Now, from a just going back to again this technology part that Vikaas was talking about, the Gurukul initiative that he was talking about, you service a very large number of clients in that sense. Service in the sense you work with them together. Apart from Gurukul, can you talk about some more technological innovations that you've sort of made or rather make use of to engage with them at a much broader scale? If you can talk just a few minutes on that. And one more, you touched upon this. What would your point of view be about investors investing in assets outside of India? Let's say an Nvidia, or for example, US based funds or China based funds, your view on that as well. So, two things. One, any other technological innovations that you've really has helped you engage more with your community? Second, on international investing.
No, I think we were the first ones to get into the stock exchanges when mutual funds were made allowed to be I mean transacted through the stock exchange, because we realized that a customer has a lot of convenience. He doesn't have to write too many checks digitally. He can do a transaction. If you want to invest in 3 4 funds, you only need one SIP mandate. So one is the convenience part, which is very very important, that the transaction should happen very very seamlessly, whether it is switch redemption. In fact, we were also offering an inter AMC switch now, because of some pooling and other things, some restriction is there, but we were offering that also previously. And another thing is the aggregation of the assets. So people never sometimes don't know how much, where they invested, what is their money, what is the total valuation. So most of the time we get call from investors when they have to file the tax return. So we have a facility where their tax and other things gets computed. So these are very basic and necessary things. When their chartered accountant will ask ke bhai aap tax ka statement lao, so we use that. And हमने काफी कुछ digitalize किया, like we have for the servicing part used our lot of chatbots. तो भाई account statement है तो chatbot से आ जाता है, का transaction statement आ जाता है, डीमैट statement आ जाता है, CML आ जाता है, tax statement आ जाता है. So and for the IFAs as well, उनको जो भी चाहिए काफी सारी चीजें, and that innovation will continue to remain. Analytics भी हम कुछ करते हैं, but as far as the engagement is concerned, I think the our distributor IFA जो हमारा है वो engagement करता है with the client for the purpose of education. Yes, we also do digital sessions where our partners के clients वो लोग को उधर लेके आते हैं, प्लस हमारे ऑफिस में भी रहता है. हर सैटरडे स्कूल हम चलाते हैं. एवरी सैटरडे we do something or other where we are talking about all these basic things, and we try to educate new people through that. तो last year we were able to touch base around 400,000 इन्वेस्टर्स जिनको हमने बेसिक्स म्यूचुअल फंड्स वगैरह के बारे में बात की. ये साल भी हम काफी ट्राई कर रहे हैं कि 1 मिलियन लोगों को हमें एड्रेस करना है. सो अवर बिजनेस इज वेरी सिंपल. जितने लोगों के पास हम जाएंगे, अवेयरनेस करेंगे, मे बी 10% 20% भी कन्वर्ट होते हैं, तो दैट्स हाउ यू बिल्ड योर बिजनेस. And it's all about how you reach, how efficiently you reach, and how productively you reach. Now, talking about the other part of the question, that is related to foreign investments. Yes, I think foreign investment does make a difference, but globally the data which says that 90% of the investments is domestic, only 10% people invest abroad. I think in India, because of our demographic profile, the way in which it is expected that our country is going to become very powerful, the GDP is going to grow, India will become a 5 trillion economy, and so on and so forth. I'm sure the stock markets here will certainly do well, better, but कोई बहुत बड़ा इन्वेस्टर है, अगर already he has a huge I mean equity assets in India, then for him it may make difference के भाई global diversification करे, go into markets which are non correlated, एंड वो सारे बिजनेसेस में भी यूएस जैसे मार्केट में रह सकते हैं. उसमें कोई आई डोंट सी एनी एनी डाउन साइड इन दैट. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली अभी क्या है कि अपना एक्सपोजर इंडियन इक्विटीज में ही नहीं है. वो प्रमोटर और एफआई और ये लोग नहीं अभी तक. अभी डोमेस्टिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस एंड म्यूचुअल फंड्स हैज नाउ बिकम शेयर होल्डर्स. So SEBI is also saying that you participate in their voting process and all those things also. But अभी तक तो क्या था कि FIs के पास shares थे और promoters के पास थे. हम लोग तो हमारे retail investors were not the owners of our great businesses. So I believe that पहले वो बना देते, फिर Nvidia और Google के शेयर लेंगे. अभी इंडिया में Google और Nvidia कैसे बने, I think उस पे अपना फोकस ज्यादा होना चाहिए.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think in the interest of time, I think Vikas, I think you can go ahead with the rest of the questions. And then
Yeah,
we'll...
in fact, Neeraj bhai, 45 minutes have just gone by in a blink of an eye. I have around 8, 10 more questions to ask you, but I think it's only fair that we move to audience questions.
Yeah.
And I must tell you, Neeraj bhai, there is a prize for the best question from the audience. So you'll have to help me choose that. I'm going to straight away jump into those questions. And some comments have also come in. Thanks to you, we are getting a lot of compliments. But anyway, as a wealth manager, this is a question from Pankaj. As a wealth manager, how often do you review investors' portfolios and offer suggestions or recommendations, irrespective of whether an investor follows up for his portfolio?
So I think it is prudent if you do it once in a 6 month.
Since
इट इज फेयर. एंड अदरवाइज कोई अगर बहुत बड़ा मार्केट के अंदर चेंज आता है, करेक्शन आता है on either side, I think it is that time you should go and look at and review the portfolio and give them right guidance, etc., whether they follow or not.
There's a gentleman only by the name of V. He's saying that your take on technology hooked youngsters has been really eye opening. I think you mentioned the Dream 11 example, so that has caught people's imagination. The question for you, sir, is how much time do you advise your wealth manager to spend teaching their clients versus operations versus actual research themselves?
सर, मेन टाइम यू हैव टू स्पेंड ऑन क्लाइंट एंगेजमेंट ओनली. बाकी का आपको आउटसोर्स कर देना पड़ेगा. यू हैव अ टीम, एम्प्लॉय पीपल हु डू ऑपरेशंस, या हमारे जैसे प्लेटफॉर्म डज ऑपरेशंस. वो सारा काम कर लेते हैं. रिसर्च भी हम कर लेते हैं. काफी अच्छे फंड्स अभी है. अगर आपने 2 4 5 अच्छे फंड्स चुन लिए, ज्यादा कुछ उसमें ज्यादा रिसर्च करने से फायदा नहीं होगा, क्योंकि वो एक साल अच्छा करता है तो दूसरे साल कोई और अच्छा आ जाता है. सो trying to predict performance of a mutual fund is a very difficult thing, particularly in the short run. And in the long run, yes, you can find out a few good people, इनको पैसा दो, and try to give it based on different styles. हर एक फंड मैनेजर्स के अलग अलग स्टाइल, अगर उसमें आपने थोड़ा डाइवर्सिफाई कर लिया तो आई थिंक दैट इज गुड इनफ. यू शुड नॉट स्पेंड सो मच टाइम ऑन दैट. यू ओनली नीड टू नो कि भाई ठीक लोगों को हमने दिया है ना, दैट्स इट. बाकी स्टे आई मीन स्पेंड टाइम विद द क्लाइंट, उनको समझाना, उनके इमोशंस मैनेज करना, उनके नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को समझाना, फैमिली को समझाना, ये बहुत जरूरी है. यू नीड देयर कॉन्फिडेंस, यू नीड के भाई उनको समझाना जरूरी है. डोंट डोंट बाय जस्ट वे ऑफ रिलेशनशिप में जानते हो तुम चेक काट लो, वो नहीं, आप समझाओ उनको भाई रिस्क क्या है, कैसे है. सो आई थिंक दैट गोज अ वेरी लॉन्ग वे एंड गिव मैक्सिमम टाइम ऑन दैट.
It's very interesting. You mentioned a point. Ki spend, in fact, diversify across styles. You did not use the word funds. You used the word styles. So I think that is something which viewers will probably need to educate themselves a bit more. In fact, Sundaram has released a report very recently on quality versus value. Quality as a factor versus value as a factor. Do write into us. In fact, we'll make it available on our website also. And it's very easy to understand. You'll get a sense of what Neeraj Bhai is trying to tell you here. नीरज भाई, इसका तो मेरे को मालूम है, बहुत शॉर्ट आंसर, स्वीट आंसर आप देने ही वाले, फिर भी वो क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ मैं. एज अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर इट इज नेवर इजी टू प्लीज बोथ इन्वेस्टर एंड एएमसी. हाउ डू वी स्ट्राइक अ बैलेंस? व्हिच कम्स फर्स्ट?
The investor is always first. If you don't look at the investor, no point of AMC नहीं है, investor ही आता है पहले.
There is a question from Akshay Raj, and then there is a question from Pankaj. Pankaj, I think, is talking about role of wealth managers in the age of artificial intelligence. I think you talked about that earlier. But this is a question from Anish Modi, which I think will be best answered by you. He's saying, I very recently joined the mutual fund distribution industry, and I feel that I'm a very late entrant. Can you help me figure out how to increase my investor base given the technological challenges and direct plan challenges?
पहले तो डायरेक्ट प्लान का कोई चैलेंज नहीं है मेरे हिसाब से. सीधा उसको बोल दो आपको डायरेक्ट प्लान चाहिए तो वो लो. इफ यू वांट मी, यू कम टू मी. वो बहुत सिंपल है. अगर उसको डायरेक्ट प्लान चाहिए तो व्हाई शुड ही कम टू यू? इफ यू आर एडिंग वैल्यू, एंड अभी बहुत सारे, मैं एमफी को भी बताता हूँ कि आप डेटा निकालो कि भाई डायरेक्ट प्लान में लोगों ने कितना कमाया और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के थ्रू कितना कमाया. और फॉरेन में ऐसे एनालिसिस है कि जहाँ पे those who are with IFAs, they have made far more money than those who are do it on their own. So I think that is where we have to first of all value ourselves. If you don't value, then the customer will not value you. So that is the first and the foremost thing. और बाकी कस्टमर बनाने में तो इट इज अ फंक्शन ऑफ हाउ मेनी पीपल यू कैन एड्रेस. आप अगर 10 लोगों को एड्रेस करोगे तो आपको एक रेशो मिल जाएगा कि भाई 2-3 कस्टमर बनते हैं. तो आपको 1000 कस्टमर बनाने हैं तो आपको 3000 लोगों को एड्रेस करना पड़ेगा. सो सिंपल है ये, कोई इसमें रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है. बट यू गो एंड मीट पीपल, टेल देम विदाउट हेजिटेशन, विदाउट फियर ऑफ रिजेक्शंस आएंगे, लोग बोलेंगे हम तो नहीं करते, बहुत कुछ सुना देंगे अपने को, हम बहुत होशियार है. बट ठीक है यार, फॉरगेट इट. अपने को जितने चाहिए उतने मिल जाएंगे. इतना बड़ा, अभी तो मैंने बताया ना 20 करोड़ और यहाँ 4 करोड़ है, तो वो गैप में बहुत बड़ा है. आपको 100% यू आर नॉट लेट. लेट मी टेल यू, डोंट थिंक यू आर लेट.
Superb. I think that's a wonderful answer. Basaraj Vijay Karjini is saying you're an inspiration to young followers, and he actually asked another question as well. He wants to know just the startup people how to scale up business and where to focus apart from educating new investors. तो न्यू इन्वेस्टर्स को आप एजुकेट कर रहे हो वो तो है ही, लेकिन जो नए नए लोग आए हैं, starting up their business, startup technology, I think his question is more in terms of the infrastructure and all of that. कितना फोकस किधर करना चाहिए?
इन द फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज स्पेस और जनरल है ये?
फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज स्पेस, बट जनरल भी अगर आप बोलना चाहें तो.
See, for any startup, what I feel is that focus should be on what problem we are wanting to solve. I think the moment you have that in the back of, see, technology is an enabler. It is not driving the business. Business आपका passion drive करता है. What you want to solve, you have to be very clear. And that clarity only will, बाकी साहब आप बिठा दोगे साथ में, उसके लिए क्या चाहिए क्या नहीं, बट दैट क्लैरिटी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. टेक्नोलॉजी आपको धंधा नहीं देगा, हमें हमारे बिजनेस के लिए एप्रोप्रिएट टेक्नोलॉजी बनानी है. दैट इज व्हाट आई फील.
Very, very crisp answer. Suresh Hegde asked about direct versus regular. I think that you've already answered. अभी आपको मैं थोड़ा धर्म संकट में डालता हूँ. Venu asks, whether we should use mutual fund or PMS to create more wealth in consistent way. I think you have a PMS outfit also, you have a mutual fund also. So this is an interesting question.
See, I think both of them are vehicles. Ultimately, at the end of the day, underlying क्या है वो हमें देखना है. ETF भी एक vehicle ही, आप इंडेक्स फंड में डालो या ETF में, निफ्टी के ETF में डालो, मेरे हिसाब से एक ही चीज है, वो डिफरेंट नहीं है. तो PMS में भी इक्विटी और म्यूचुअल फंड का इक्विटी एक ही है. आपको कौन से फंड मैनेजर को कौन से स्टाइल में कैसे दे रहे हो वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. एंड अगेन अभी बिकॉज ऑफ द टैक्स, आई थिंक mutual funds are a bit better tax perspective से, because it is a tax exempt status. and अभी short term gain और अभी ये बजट में थोड़ा और ज्यादा टैक्स लग गया है. अदरवाइज आई थिंक इट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट कि आप कौन से मैनेजर को पैसा दे रहे हो, हाउ दे आर मैनेजिंग, उस पे फोकस होना चाहिए रादर देन द स्ट्रक्चर. स्ट्रक्चर कोई भी हो, अल्टीमेटली आप अंडरलाइंग आपको पैसा बना के देगा, और जो पर्सन को दे रहे हो वो बना के देगा. So that is what I feel.
As direct as it gets. Wonderful. नीरज भाई, आपका कोई फ्रेंड है मिस्टर सिद्धार्थ टोलिया. He says hi to you. He was with you in Sardar Patel University. So
Yeah.
right now he's in Pune. Mr. V, I will share that report on quality versus value. I think you should find it on our website. If you don't, then please ping us. Last couple of questions. I think absolute last two couple of questions. Rohit Kumar is asking a very interesting question. What is the one thing you love to hear from an investor? And what is the one thing you hate to hear from an investor?
I mean, certainly we will love to hear from an investor what we have been advocating, what we have been practicing. So जब वो ये बात करता है, and when he tells it to other persons, because ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कस्टमर रेफरेंस से बनते हैं, and when he shares that experience कि भाई मैं इनके साथ 10 साल से था और this is what we've learned and this is how ये asset allocation SIP का ये power है long term. So that is something which gives you a lot of satisfaction and motivation. And when they say कि भाई नहीं, इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ यू ये हमारा इतना अच्छा इन्वेस्टमेंट हुआ, वेल्थ क्रिएट हुआ, दैट ऑब्वियसली वी लव टू हियर. बाकी तो व्हाट वी हेट तो ऐसा कुछ है नहीं, बट या पीपल गेट वाइल्ड मेनी अ टाइम्स एंड यू हैव टू लिव विद दैट. मार्केट गिरता है तो उनको यही लगता है कि आपने बताया क्यों नहीं हमें.
That's a
कोई
standard.
गलती हो जाती है तो अच्छी चीज 100 करते हो, बट एक गलती वो खिला देता है आपको. But that's how it is. I mean, you have to accept it. Don't get panic. If you get panic, वो 2 मिनट में शांत भी हो जाते हैं फिर, और कभी जाते नहीं है. हम लोग को ऐसा लगता है, ज्यादा परसेप्शन ऐसा हो जाता है. एक दो ने बोला कि बहुत खराब है, बहुत खराब है, हमें ऐसा लगता है कि हर एक लोगों ऐसा ही सोच रहे हैं. बट अब एक्चुअली रिसर्च करोगे तो 2 3 4 लोग ही डरे हैं, 90 लोग तो अपने हम जो बोलेंगे वैसा ही करेंगे.
Anish, I think your question about direct and growth has been answered. Mittal, I think you talked about funds with you, new fancy names. Neeraj Bhai has already mentioned look at style rather than anything else. Akhil is asking a question, Neeraj Bhai. I think I'll just come to that once I scroll through the other questions. Yeah, I think uh, दो क्वेश्चन, सॉरी मैं आपको दो क्वेश्चन के लिए परेशान करूंगा. एक काफी सब्जेक्टिव है. If you were to start a new business in the capital markets today, then what would it be and what would your first 3 steps? So that is one question. Second question मैं आपको इसके बाद बताता हूँ, which will be the last question.
नहीं, मैं देखिए 25 साल पहले 30 साल पहले जब बिजनेस ये चालू किया, उस समय फ्रैंकली कुछ पता नहीं था. उतना ही पता था कि अगर हम ये बिजनेस में है तो लेट अस हेल्प पीपल टू क्रिएट वेल्थ. उनका जो भी फाइनेंशियल इश्यूज है, हाउ कैन वी रिजॉल्व दैट. दैट वाज द थॉट प्रोसेस. वैसे म्यूचुअल फंड से होगा, एसआईपी से होगा, किस चीज से होगा, वो सब हमें फ्रैंकली बहुत ज्यादा पता नहीं था. वो धीरे धीरे हम अंदर आए तो पता चलने लगा कि भाई ये हम इस तरह से कर सकते हैं. तो आज भी शायद अगर मैं ये बिजनेस में आता तो यही सोच से आता कि इफ आई एम इनटू एन इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजरी बिजनेस इन फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, how can I best serve my investors? How can I ensure that their interest is protected or I can satisfy that? And obviously, म्यूचुअल फंड्स मुझे लगता है, या इक्विटी लॉन्ग टर्म प्रोडक्ट कोई भी हो, इक्विटी, लॉन्ग टर्म म्यूचुअल फंड्स, आई थिंक दैट इज अ better way of participating rather than investing in direct stocks or anything else. वो short term में अच्छा लगता है, but they generally don't, people, very few people are able to crack that.
If I were in your place, I would say that the one business I will definitely not start, which is what you mentioned earlier, is FNO.
Yeah,
You have heard
obviously
that.
that.
Last question. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, हाँ
नहीं,
please.
please go ahead. Neeraj bhai, कुछ बोल रहे
नहीं
थे.
नहीं, fine, go ahead.
Last question is by Mukesh. He's saying, yeah, while we discuss wealth creation and protection with prospects, we find investors are averse to insurance. How does one convince them?
देखिए, अभी इंश्योरेंस के लिए भी वी हैव टू गो एंड एक्सप्लेन देम. हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस की एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी काफ़ी है व्हेन दे हैव एक्सपीरियंस, बैड एक्सपीरियंस, एंड हर एक के फैमिली में, फ्रेंड्स में कुछ ना कुछ हेल्थ का इशू हुआ ही होता है. तो इफ यू गो एंड टेल अबाउट दैट, और धीरे धीरे फिर आप इंश्योरेंस के अंदर, हम लोग तो ज़्यादा हम टर्म प्लान ही बेचते हैं, बिकॉज वी फील के भाई मैक्सिमम रिस्क कवर होना चाहिए. और उनको बोलो कि भाई ये आपके जेब में से पैसा गिर गया, ऐसा करके आप टर्म प्लान में 10-20 हज़ार का प्रीमियम भरो, वो इतनी बड़ी बात नहीं है. 2-4 मॉल में इतना खर्चा हम कर देते हैं, तो गाड़ी का इंश्योरेंस लेते हैं कि वो ठुक जाए तो वो पैसा आना चाहिए इंश्योरेंस कंपनी से. बट अपना लाइफ और हेल्थ में जनरली हम थोड़ा, तो वो बात आई थिंक करनी पड़ेगी. एंड ग्रेजुअली पीपल टेक, इट्स नॉट के दे डोंट, बट इट हैज बीन मिससोल्ड ऑल्सो अ लॉट. सो
True.
एक्सपीरियंस खराब है पास्ट का. यूलिप कुछ ले लिया है 50% का चार्ज था, ये था, वो था, तो वो एक्सपीरियंस होता है. तो मे बी समटाइम्स, एंड लॉट ऑफ पीपल कॉल देम, इतना वो हो जाते हैं, तो थोड़ा उनको लगता है कि ये मेरे पीछे आया, इसको बहुत कुछ मिल रहा है. इफ यू आर एबल टू जनरेट दैट ट्रस्ट कि भाई नहीं, आई एम देयर फॉर योर वेल बीइंग, इसके लिए मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, तो आई थिंक पीपल विल बाय, ऐसा मुझे लग रहा है.
No, absolutely. I think comfort is more important than conviction. आपने trust की जो बात की बहुत important है.
हम्म.
Rahul, Vishal, Rakesh, I think most of your questions have been answered. In fact, Rakesh Rathod wants to talk here about alternative investing and what is your view on alternates. I think he's made it pretty clear. Okay. And Imran Qureshi is asking about best formula to book profits in mutual fund. I think it's only when you need the money that you take the money out. If I can speak for Neeraj Bhai, because I've heard him speak a lot of times here. Yeah. So नीरज भाई, अपने को एक फाइनल चीज है कि बेस्ट क्वेश्चन का जो है उसका अवार्ड देने का है. सो आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग दैट देयर इज दिस gentleman who asked about Suresh Hegde. He asked about direct versus regular, and Anish Modi talked about the fact that he's a late entrant in mutual fund distribution.
करेक्ट.
आपके हिसाब से अगर दोनों क्वेश्चन बराबर है, दोनों को प्राइज दे दें?
जी बिल्कुल, आई थिंक बहुत अप्रोप्रिएट है फॉर द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन फ्रेटर्निटी टू अंडरस्टैंड. बाकी भी क्वेश्चंस ठीक थे, बट ये इनके लिए बहुत सुटेबल है उसका जवाब, तो वो दे सकते हो आप दोनों को.
Wonderful. So congratulations,
थैंक
Suresh
यू
and
सो मच.
Anish, and thank you so much, Neeraj bhai. इतने
या
कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स आए हैं, मैं इसका ना एक कट पेस्ट करके आपको भेजता हूँ in terms of how people have enjoyed this session. Personally, I think, and I've heard you speak a lot of times in the past also, but this has been one of the more direct, focused. Uh, if I am a listener sitting in the audience, it's almost like you're speaking to me one on one. You're not preaching, you're speaking to me, which I think is something which I have really enjoyed. So thank you so much, Neeraj bhai,
थैंक
for
यू, हरे
this.
कृष्णा. थैंक यू,
Thank you so
थैंक्स
much.
फॉर इनवाइटिंग मी.
Pleasure.
थैंक्स always for your love, affection and kindness towards our company. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.